Hello everybody, thanks for joining me. We are at Shiplate again. This is day 3 of our festival, and if you've been following so far you'll be aware that I had a second in section on the first day. Then we were lucky enough to win our section on the second day, so we're on a first and a second, so we really want a good result today. The festival's over 4 days, but 3 of the results count and there's 1 dropper. But should you get joint points with someone, which to be honest you're going to, the sections aren't massive, and dropping 1 day out of 4 days, you can end up with points the same as other people. So on that sort of occasion, should that arise, which I feel as I say it will, then it will be down to the dropped weight. So you don't really want a disaster on any of the 4 days, because that dropper could come into it. And then if you're on the same dropper as somebody else, it comes down to joint weight of the 3 matches that count. So we've drawn peg 7 today. We're on Main Lake today, not one of the Snake Lakes. We've fished those 2 now. So this is Main Lake, and I'm you've just seen I was swinging a rig off to the left there. That's a 0.4 Drennan crystal, and we're swinging that rig, and there's there's like a tree out in the water. It's 16 meters there, and we've got a bit of breeze, as you can see, blowing down into it. I really expected that float to go, and it hasn't. So now I've got the slapping rig out, and as you can see, I'm feeding nothing. So we're going to try the slapping rig now. I'm just trying it in front of me before I go down to the tree and try it there as well, because there is, the odd fish that'll be fooled by this early. Plus I don't, oh there you go, we've got one. But I didn't really want to feed anything. I just wanted to watch other people, see if they were catching shallow, deep, short, feeder, waggler, whatever, and not feed anything, because this lake is notoriously hard in the first few hours, and then what will happen is, same as all these commercials, isn't it? Then your last hour sort of fish will turn up. But on this lake in particular, some really big wily-oed fish, and so you're better off sort of just trying to eke 1 or 2 bites out in the first 4 or 5 hours, and then catch a few in the latter part of the match. So we got one on now. Feels a half decent fish, not massive, not as big as they can be on here, but it's all right. The secret on this lake, I think, is being quite versatile and being quite open-minded in what you might have to do. You may have to fish for skimmers at stages of the match, because those big carp are quite moody, and if they don't want to feed, they're not going to. It's a very contrasting day weather-wise compared to yesterday as well. Now, the first 2 days of the festival, this lake has thrown up 200-pound weights. Mainly mugging or swinging rigs. If they can see them, they're mugging them. If they can't see them, they're still swinging rigs and catching fish. Today it's nothing like that at all. It's going to get worse later on, weather wise, and I don't see anything cruising at all, and it's several degrees cooler than it has been. It's still a nice day, mind, but not still and flat like it, and bright like it has been, to be honest. Bit of a wallower, this fish, isn't he? So nice big landing net on this lake. I do like a big landing net. I think you can scoop some of them a bit quicker, and the fish go well above 20 pounds. So you don't want to be struggling with a little landing net, having to play the fish to nigh on a standstill to get half their head and half their body in the net. You want a nice big net. It's probably too big for if I have to go start doing skimmer fishing, etc., but I just put up with that. So just trying to slap down near that tree. Amazed I don't catch by it, to be honest. So we're an hour in. I thought I'd give it an hour swing in and slap in and all the rest of it, and we're an hour in, so now I'm going to feed a little bit of 7mm meat, looking for skimmers, just to fill the time and get some weight in the net. I could carry on doing the sort of things I'm doing, or feed it and slap it and things, but if you don't catch those big carp, you're going to really come unstuck. So I thought, let's feed for some skimmers and see how it goes. We've also set up the method, because we have got a method chuck, and you can see the geese on the island, and that's sort of the area we're chucking to. There's a little board going in the water, actually. I think that's sort of a little bridge or ladder that they exit and vacate and get onto the island with as well. So I'm going to fish slightly to the right of that, in tight, and we'll see how it goes. I'm using a 30g Preston method feeder. I love the Preston ones, to be honest, and 30g, I never really fish any lighter. I think any lighter, you get those little knocks on the feeder, and it registers on the tip, and the rod just never goes round, does it? It's not heavy enough to sort of hook the fish and make them bolt. So I like the 30g minimal. What I did do though is forget my rod rest, so I've had to use me a little butt rest I've got, but it's got a lot of grooves in it, so if it plays me up at all, then I'll disregard it and just put the rod over the keep net if I have to. But lovely looking lake this, and I've said in the previous videos, so quiet down there, so peaceful, and you can't hear any roads, so no cars or anything. It really is lovely. Good bunch of blokes down there this week as well. I'm really quite an impatient angler. I find tip fishing very, very hard work. I'm not the most patient of, I like to be working the pole or a waggler, or I like a bit of open ender fishing in the winter for skimmers and things, and sort of building a peg. I love that sort of fishing, but methods, I don't mind a method now and then. Really dislike lead fishing. Not, and there you go. Look, my line's caught in the because I forgot to lift the rod straight up and sort of struck it. Luckily enough, because we're chucking head onto an island, the fish hasn't sort of ran all down the side. If we were chucking to the side of the island, I'd have been in trouble then. But as I was saying, I find lead fishing just difficult mentally to stay sort of focused at it. I just find it a little bit boring. It catches loads of fish, and I know some terrific anglers who win a lot of matches doing it. But I find it a hard discipline to do. We all have our strengths, don't we? So we got one on. It's brilliant. Got one on. First chuck on the feeder, right in nice and tight to the island, as you've seen. Not quite got my ratchet set yet, so I think I have a little play with that. Try and get things right. Because if these big fish, take a sudden lunge, you want to be able to give a little bit of line. Using a 10-foot rod for this, because it's probably about, I'm not sure how far it is, probably 35 meters. Taking my time as always. Early in the match, last thing you want to be doing is pulling out a fish. I'll put my hands up as well. I didn't make any new hook lengths for the feeder either. I sort of used what I had there in my bag from 12 months plus ago. They've not been in the light or anything, so they should be fine, but it's not overly heavy for a method. I mean, normally if I was making some up, I'd have made them sort of 2.0 line, 4-inch, but I think I'm using 0.17, which is fine, taking your time. As I say, we're not chucking at the side of an island, we're chucking in front of it. If you chuck at the side, as I say, and they generally just rip straight off, don't they? It's a different story then. I'm using micros on the feeder, and the micros I use are Screttins. Sometimes if I'm fishing somewhere that's quite prolific with method feeder fishing and they come along and peck at the feeder a lot, then I will use coppins, because they bind much harder and the fish have to work harder to get them off the feeder. But when you're sort of having to wait a little while and it's not that prolific, then I prefer the Screttins, to be honest. I know some very good feeder anglers who actually use 4 mils on the feeder and swear by it. Not with sometimes with micros, but 4 mils just on their own as well. Yeah, and they swear by that because I suppose the fish, bigger pellets for bigger carp, and the fish don't really see that as much as they do micros and ground bait and micros on its own, do they? So food for thought, that one. A few skimmers now, and already got it in my mind that after I catch a few skimmers, if it slows, then I'll top it up with a big cup, just a few 20 sort of pieces of meat, and then I should chuck that feeder again for 10 minutes. And that didn't take long, did it? Sensible skimmer. Fishing white hydro, 0.14 hook length. May seem heavy for skimmers, but a lot of carp in there, and if I hook a bonus carp, I want every chance of getting it out. So the skimmer fishing is nice, isn't it? It's getting a few bites, putting a little bit of weight in the net, early days as well. So another skimmer, just ticking along. Nothing's really happening on my side of the lake. The other side of the lake, they're catching swinging a rig in the sort of bow, which is sort of pegs. The bows, I suppose, sort of 12 to 14 peg numbers, and they're between the islands, and there's some big fish cruising around out there, and they're swinging rigs. I can see that, and pinging pellets, swinging the rig past the pellets and catching some nice carp. Doesn't really apply to this side. Much tougher section today, so not too worried about that. Wind's starting to get up now, as they forecast as well, and it don't look nothing on the water, but it's sort of swirling around. It's not coming from one direction either. It's sort of turning one way, turning the other. Quite squally, I suppose. And trying to fish 30 meters in it's a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. Even sort of that short, you know, for skimmers. And I plumbed up 16 meters down to that tree to my left as well. I was hoping to catch on the deck down there, but I don't know if that's going to be possible. By the time the carp are going to have a munch on the bottom, I don't know if I'm going to be able to hold it down there. So while I'm chucking this feeder, I'm having a little think about that, and I'm thinking about replumbing and bringing that back closer towards me. There's a lot of sort of rocks and stones down the edges on this side as well, really rocky, so you don't really have shallow water to fish into, or not generally. Most people sort of fish in that deeper water. So thank goodness for the feeder, innit, today. At least we're picking up 1 or 2 fish on that. It's not fast by any means. And I have sort of noticed and got into a rhythm with it whereby, to be honest, I mean, chucking it tighter gets you a bite a little bit faster, but only a bite on that first chuck. It's like you fish for skimmers for sort of 15 minutes, catch a few skimmers, they start to get really fickle, don't come as fast, you're waiting too long, so you sort of top up the skimmer line, then you chuck the feeder, and that first chuck you got to get reasonably tight because that's your chance. After that first chuck, you don't get a touch, or not today anyway. So that's the sort of what I've picked up on now, and that's how I've been fishing the last sort of couple of hours of this match. One or two skimmers and a chance of a carp on the feeder. And that's been doing all right for us, you know. We're ticking over, just waiting until they have a go in that last hour and just figuring out how we're going to catch them in that last hour. As I say, I don't think there's any way I'm going to be fishing 16 metres off to that left-hand side. The weather's progressively getting worse now. Using the ever faithful 10-foot free spirit rod. Love those rods. I've got two 9-foots and a 10-foot in those, and yeah, they're brilliant. They do a sort of cheaper version. I got the 9-foot cheaper version and the 9-foot one. I can't remember the names of them now, but the sort of one that's nearly nigh on double the price. And they're both superb, to be honest. Both brilliant. You know, if you're ever after one, I'd recommend you bought the cheaper one because the difference is negligible, really. I mean, the amount of difference you get for the price, to be honest. This 10-foot one's the cheaper version, and they're just lovely. I bought these back in at Todber, back when the weights weren't so great, and you could you needed to catch on the feeder for part of the match as well as catching them on the pole. Not the case there anymore. Taking me time with the fish, as we said, never worth rushing. Just take your time, make sure of every one. You never know when it's going to be your last one, especially in these middle hours of the match. The weights aren't going to be massive this side. I'm thinking to myself now, £80 is going to get me in the top two, and that's sort of in my head the sort of target I've set now. I sort of think for the people I can see to me right. Yeah, I'm thinking £80 top two, and that'll do. Seems like another reasonable weight builder. The real line I'm using is a £6 Preston clear one. To a bank nice and tight and no stretch, you can get that bit more accurate. But I think the Preston Clear mono is very, very good. Very strong as well. I've only had to use £6 where I used to use 8. And I prefer the Clear as well. I think you get more takes on it personally. That's just my own thoughts. I'm sure there's better feeder anglers out there than me that could tell me differently or tell me a little bit more about it. But from my own experience, I find Clear line better. Especially in the winter, obviously. So again, not rushing it. This carp's worth a lot of skimmers, isn't it? And it's not going to be a big weight affair this side of the lake, that's for sure. Apologies, the camera angles changed because the camera's already blown over once, so I've had to put it back to my left and up against a bit of a post just to help give it a bit of stability on the tripod, because the wind is getting up and we're getting some strong gusts now. In fact, so much so that I really struggled to fish that 13-meter line on them skimmers. I wish I started sort of feeding that and doing that after we had that fish slap him, really, because the sort of the opportunity, that little window to catch a few skimmers, is gone. So we kept on the feeder. We had a couple more small ones on it. They were small, sort of 2.5 pound fish, and now we've ran into the last sort of 50 minutes of the match and we've had an arrival down the edge, which we really need, and every fish counts now, really. I haven't caught loads the earlier parts of the match, but I've caught as much as anybody else in the section. It's quite interesting, the edge fishing. This side of Shiplate, on the inside, is really, really rocky. And I'm talking quite big boulders as well, and you sort of plumb up in between them and it's just horrible. You can't find any flat spots, it's just absolutely horrendous. So a lot of the locals fish in the deeper water if you're on this side, and hope to catch carp there. But if it doesn't happen, which is what's happened to me today, then I thought I'll try on top the rocks. So with an hour to go, I cupped in feed, and within a couple of minutes I could see tails. The problem is every time I went in with my pole, you know, you were either hooking into the rocks or foul hooking the fish, and it was just horrendous. So what I did in the end is pulled my float down, fished well off the bottom with a piece of meat just wafting around, and I put in a big 250 ml full of meat and micros, splash it all around, and I wait until those fish come in, and I seen tails, and then I go and lower my rig in and have the meat wafting around well on top of the rocks, and you'd have to wait a little bit, but it would fly under and the fish would snaffle it just when they're blowing everything off the bottom, you know, and feeding and the movement of all the fish down there, and they'd have it. But the weird thing is I had to wait till there were tails there after feeding. If I fed and then went round and put the pole over their heads waiting for them to come, they'd come in, see the pole and turn around and go and disappear. So you had to kind of wait till you could see those tails. Quite interesting. So the wind's got right up now, hasn't it? No complaints, mind, because it's kind of funneling, as you can see, and sort of blowing along my left edge there, so I got no complaints on that now at all. Wasn't enjoying it earlier when I couldn't hold the pole for me skimmer line, but I got no issue with it now at all. So just seen some tails, so we've gone round there now. We're still fishing fairly heavy margin float, 4x16. I've not got it sort of strung out because those fish are wafting everything around. They seem quite comfortable once they're in amongst those rocks, because I don't think people sort of fish for them on them. I know used to people probably emptying their bait boxes in that close. So, and there we go. Just an 8mm bit of meat wafting, well, off the bottom. It's got to be a foot off the bottom, and just sort of wafting between, you know, the rocks. I had to bring it a foot up because I was just getting liners. It's quite a tough day's fishing compared to yesterday's when we were fishing short and catching, you know, right down next to our keep nets, really, wasn't it? Top kit on the right and a top kit and a short 4 on the left. Totally different day today. Odd fish on the feeder, one slap in, a few skimmers, and then a few late carp down the edge there. But they were very late. Time I figured it out, time they started to show and I figured it out, I probably had about 35 minutes, 40 minutes on them. And you had to wait on some of the bites as well, as I say, fishing off the bottom, but at least you had a proper clean bite and you had the chance to land a fish.